Alaska brings a whole host of challenges with it. It's layers on layers of difficulty. The weather is so harsh, the distances are so long, the mountains are huge. It's just really awe-inspiring. It makes Alaska a truly unique and a truly challenging environment to operate in. And when a crew launches out into the dark and stormy, it's pretty humbling. As long as there are people who are in distress, who need our services, the job continues.
The vast Alaskan wilderness, a place where beauty is cloaked by danger. Here, every day, the highly trained men and women of the U.S. Coast Guard risk their lives to save others. America's deadliest waters are protected by Coast Guard Alaska.
I got a district got a call this morning from one of the adventure yachts. Found a 44-foot white trawler that had an anchor down that was adrift. District contacted the registered owners, said that there was 2 young adults. Took the boat about a week ago to go hunting. So we'll go up and we'll just start combing the beaches, looking for the two missing people. But anything on the beach we'll be looking at. Today we got a call about a 44-foot fishing boat that was found adrift in Beam Canal. The initial information we got was 2 gentlemen had gone about 7 days prior to go hunting, and while they were away from the boat broke free. There's numerous things that we got to evaluate. Is somebody actually in distress, or are they just stranded? Did these folks maybe leave the vessel this morning and the boat just broke free, or have they been stuck there for 7 days? These are the kind of things that we're trying to get the answers for on our flight down.
For this case, we don't necessarily know what we're headed out for. A lot of times we know somebody's in distress. For this case, it's a lot of unknowns. We're kind of going out to try and put some pieces of the puzzle together.
Well, it was a beautiful morning.
What was that?
About 8.
Oh, really?
I was walking across the way, yeah, you could see the clouds and everything was nice.
It was quite a long way to have to go. We're looking at about a 200-mile transit just to get on scene. And then with the weather, we had some pretty low ceilings and pretty poor visibility. By the time we launched, the rain had really started coming in and the clouds had started coming down.
And drop leak test ready for ready outward. 3, 1, 2, 3.
Coming out right.
All right, crew partners, take off. Let's take off.
We've got close to a 280-mile transit down into Bim Canal. It's in the Misty Fjords National Park. So we've got about 3,000-foot mountains on each side of a 5-mile wide canal that runs north and south. Once we got into the canal, we had no comms with the sector, so we were kind of operating by ourselves, and we had to kind of figure out what was going to be the most logical place where these hunters would be.
So my plan is we'll hit up here, jump on this beach line, come around, and just start searching this. We'll hit the cabin first, get up in here. If there's something at the cabin, then we'll get up in here.
Our pilot, Mr. Enixon, had a pretty good idea as he knew where to start looking. Started searching near this river inlet, and terrain was pretty wild up there. Sheer mountains on either side, not really any beach line, lots of tree line. There was a couple cabins on the side of the river, and we thought that, if these guys are in the area, there's a good chance they could be by these cabins.
All right, gents, let's get our search on. I think the big thing right now is to be looking for the skiff. Cabin should be up here a little bit. There it is.
Oh, there we go. Let's see, smoke or anything.
We just started working our way up that river, nice and slow, looking for something, which we weren't exactly sure what it was going to be. We pulled into a hover in the vicinity of a couple of cabins, kind of trying to see if we could see anybody that might come out to wave at us, or want to know why there suddenly is a Coast Guard helicopter there.
If there's anybody there, I would imagine they would come out. We'll kind of hold here so I don't blow the shack or lift any of the roof panels off.
Initially orbited the cabins. We didn't really see any signs of life. There was no fresh prints in the grass, and there wasn't any kayaks or skiff at that location.
Somebody's home, I'm pretty sure they would have came out by now. All right, let's roll out. Let's see how far we can get up this creek here.
Okay.
We'll go up as far as we deem it safe, and then we'll turn around and we'll get sucked in there.
There's a bunch of footprints down here on the right, but I don't think they're people prints. follow this bend around for the turn.
So we flew 8.5 miles up this river.
We took it nice and slow, kept a good eye on the weather itself as that mountain fog started closing in patches here and there, making sure that we didn't get boxed in anywhere that we wouldn't be able to get out of. We took a couple of laps up the river around different little channels that fed into it, and maybe after going up, I'd say 5 or 10 miles, we decided that was about as far as it looked like anybody could go.
I don't see anybody.
Okay. Clear left, coming left. We're back out in the mouth of the bay.
I think if we just whack out a quick initial here, they can get up and maybe a little bit closer to where the boat was. Because doing all the math, if the boat was anchored here, I mean, the thing would have traveled almost 8-9 miles in a few hours, which in the dark of the rain, yeah.
We're searching as much as possible. And after we were pretty content that we weren't going to find anyone at that river mouth, we decided to move on to our next search area. So the pilots put the nose down and started gaining a little airspeed.
Mark. I got someone currently at your 8 o'clock position. Awesome. Eyeballs, brother. I got him on the clear right now.
I got him. I see him waving.
Happened to look out the left seat window, just saw something odd. Couldn't really describe it. And as we came around and got closer back to that delta, we realized that there was a man standing there.
I only see one guy.
I wonder where the other guy's at. Let's hope he's I'm sure we'll find out real soon.
Yep, coming down the right. You ready for the approach in the back?
Ready for the approach.
So while we were making our preparations for landing, we were doing an orbit around the survivor. You know, the initial report was 2 hunters, and there was only 1. So that kind of got me concerned right off the bat.
Dave, do me a favor. We're going to let you out. Take it back airborne. Make sure that weapon's clear. Point it down when you bring it in the cabin.
He was essentially on a marsh island at the end of the river delta, an island that was just pretty much closed off by 2 pretty fast-running rivers. Nothing on it except for a couple deadfall driftwood trees.
We dropped off Petty Officer Munns, and he was going to go out and talk to the individual and just see what was going on. We thought maybe we were there and happening on a separate SAR case, something completely different. We took off to see if we could see anything else, and then he was able to talk to him without the sound of the helicopter and the rotor wash drowning him out.
When Dave made contact with him, we were pretty ecstatic as a crew. You know, we found somebody right off the bat in the early parts of our search, and hopefully that he'd be able to provide some input on where his buddy is. Once Dave got the initial information, he started patient care and realized that this person was severely hypothermic.
My brothers and his guys, Will picked up Adrian here. 7 days, no food or water. He's going to be hurt.
Immediately I can tell that he's in rough shape. He's cold, he's been hanging out in the environment. You know, ask him first of all, hey, you doing all right, you know? And he says, yeah, but I've been out here for 7 days and I'm ready to go home. So I said, okay, well, you know, where's your buddy at? And he says he didn't make it.
Today we got a call about a 44-foot fishing boat that was found adrift. 2 gentlemen had gone about 7 days prior to go hunting in the Bim Canal area, and while they were away from the boat broke free. So we searched the Chickaman River, and sure enough, we saw a gentleman standing there holding a life jacket.
Jesus, dude. I mean, the 2 days of wind warnings they had down here is pretty freaking, that had to be pretty horrific, huddled around that stump.
That area had just been issued a warning for the last 3 days for wind in excess of 60 knots. So this person just went through some very traumatic weather. He was very weak and pretty much frozen.
This guy's pretty hypothermic. I'm gonna get him in a bag real quick. Yep, we're gonna lift off here and go back to catch, drop off the wolf pad. Did the friend take off 7 days ago, he thinks, or when did... The friend took off 7 days ago with the skiff and never returned. This guy seems to think that his skiff overturned or something because it was such a small skiff, and he's starting to think he never made it back to the boat.
One of the more difficult things to do, obviously with all the uncertainty, is to try and figure out what to do. We know that we had found this one individual, so our immediate concern was where was the other gentleman. We picked up and started orbiting the area while Petty Officer Munns was still assessing the patient. We realized that his situation was more critical than we might even have originally thought, that he was much colder. And Petty Officer Munns immediately started treating him for some severe hypothermia.
Oh man, I'm feeling these guys' feet. He's freezing.
That's when we made the decision that it was important to get this guy right away back to Ketchikan and get ourselves back out there to continue searching.
All right, so I got some more information for you.
All right, Dave, hit it.
All right, so this guy, 7 days ago, his buddy went back out to the boat. He had lost sight of his buddy, but he's seen the boat for the last 7 days, for the whole time until yesterday. And he watched this boat get disanchored and drift away yesterday.
He was severely hypothermic. He was pretty cramped up in the legs, so I knew he was dehydrated. He was cold to the touch. Definitely didn't have a normal skin color to him. But at least he was able to relay some good information that definitely helped us in the case.
He says that he forgot to tell us that his buddy in tow had a blue kayak.
We're transiting back, and as we're getting more and more of the information, he had said that he had just laid down when we had flown over, and you could surmise that he was laying down for the last time. And you look back, and it's a miracle that he's alive.
You okay?
Went and talked to the EMS and told him basically the condition that the guy was in. We just slide him onto the gurney and then cart him out. After we dropped off the patient with the Ketchikan EMS, we kind of wanted to celebrate and be happy, but at the same time we knew that our mission was nowhere near being close to being complete. We still had to go find the second survivor.
All right, here we go. Clear north. And sector from the 3-8, we successfully dropped off patient. We are airborne at this time to continue our search, and request you assume our guard at this time. Now on that.
We needed to refuel and get back out on scene as quick as we could. We were starting to get a much better idea of where these guys had been. The problem for us was that was a week ago.
I guess he'd been posted up in that spot for like the last week.
Yep, he was sitting right on that point by that tree. That way he could see if his buddy was coming back. He had eyes on the boat, and he didn't want to veer too far. He was about as cold as he could have been. I don't think he could have been any colder.
That's what I'm saying, man. If that dude didn't wake up when we flew over, he was going to be asleep forever.
Yep.
So that guy's supposed to be anywhere. That kayak and stuff by now. I don't know, man.
It gave us great hope, the fact that we had found a guy that was standing on an island for 7 days in the elements. We had all the hope in the world to find the second guy. We thought maybe he might be further up north in a different cabin, in a different cove. Maybe he just got blown away in the skiff.
Oh, look at that. Bears.
Where's the bears?
Right on the right side. They look like dogs. What are those?
Those do look like dogs.
Are they wolves?
Yeah, black wolf.
Holy!
There's another big one right there all by himself.
The weather had started to break for us. Now at low tide, we actually saw a wolf pack. They were probably within half a mile to a mile of where we had picked up the survivor. They were actively running around back and forth, swimming between the rivers. The one survivor had been dealing with those wolves running around, and they'd been out there bear hunting, so we knew that there were bears in the area. And then once we flew out, we noticed that there were salmon sharks there at the mouth of the river as well. So to contend with the cold in the water, there was also a lot of hostile marine life as well.
If you guys see anything along the right or left, either way, just give me a heads up. I'll hit the brakes.
There's something floating down here on the right. Looks like it might just be...
Yeah.
Is that a tree trunk? What is
That
it?
is a tree stump.
My big thing is I wanted to do a detailed search of the place we found the survivor, and then take into account what the wind and seas have been doing the last couple days, and predict where the second person would be.
Well, blue kayak.
Yep, got an insight.
All right, mark this position.
It's marked.
All right, dudes. What I want to do is get downwind of that thing, keep it out of our road launch. I don't want to flip the thing over. Let's get a real good picture on the UIR and see what's in it.
Roger that.
And to get a picture of the rope. If that rope looks like it's parted, that would go with my notion of the boat sank and this thing popped up.
We really weren't finding many clues. Then we ran across a blue kayak, just like the one the survivor had described. That really injected a lot of energy back into the crew, kind of redoubled our efforts. We just really started scouring the beach in the area of that kayak and trying to put the rest of the puzzle together.
Rope's definitely frayed. Kayak's full of water.
I would think that there was some traumatic incident that's why that line parted.
We head back to the same spot where we found the first survivor. We want to find this second guy, and we've got a pretty good chance of finding him because we had found the first guy. And even though he had been out in the wilderness for 7 days, he was still alive.
All right, cool. I'm going to get the forward flight.
Yeah, I think I'm seeing some other stuff too there on the beach.
We started searching pretty vigorously in that area. I was basically laying on my stomach with my head out the cabin door, looking straight down in the water. After a couple hours, we started talking about it as a crew. You know, if this guy did make it to land, where would he have gone? What would he have done? And we decided that the cabins that we had originally flown over, maybe we should check those out a little bit more thoroughly.
All right, LZ is going to be somewhere in front of us. Okay, just come easy down.
The plan was to walk over to the cabins and look inside for any signs of life, whether there was someone there a week ago or whether there was someone in there now injured. They were unlocked. We were able to walk inside them, and there were no signs of life inside.
Wow, I don't think the guy knew it was there.
We knew right then that there was not a chance that the second survivor had made it to that cabin.
Yeah, it's a nice cabin, but nothing in there.
After briefing up the sector, they felt that we've exhausted the air search capabilities, and we truly had. We had searched pretty much every nook and cranny of Bim Canal in the area that we thought the other hunter would have been. This case is one of those testaments to how beautiful and how rugged and unforgiving Alaska is. A guy was able to sustain life for 7 days with a pack of wolves surrounding him. But on the other hand, it's kind of disheartening that, you know, we only found half the people.
I know they did all they could, but they didn't have a chance. They started a week late. He was dead in 10 minutes, probably. There's nothing anybody could have done with that situation. This particular trip, there was this bear, and it was a big bear. Garrett shot, the bear went down. And he was like jumping out of his shoes. It's just kid in a candy store. Took all the meat, and then we draped the bear out on top of that kayak. And when we came out of the river, the skiff's riding really low. So I got out of the boat, and it did help. It helped a lot, brought that boat up. So I just stood there on mud flat, waved goodbye, and off he went. He motored out, everything was perfect. And I just stood there and watched him. It had to have been about 4 in the afternoon by that point. Just watched him go. After a half an hour, I knew something might be wrong. After an hour, I knew something was really wrong. And after 2 hours, when the tide started coming back in, I knew Garrett was dead. I couldn't see any other explanation. But then all of a sudden, the tide's coming in. I had to hike up through the mud flat. There were 3 great big trees that had fallen over. So I figured that's gonna be my spot for the night. So I started a routine. I said, people can survive without food, so that only gives me 3-4 days at the end of this before there'd be a couple days into a search by the time we'd be missed. And I just stayed at the tree. It was raining so hard, and it didn't matter where I was just drenched. These gale winds started to blow. They blew. You know, we got wind back in Michigan, but this is more like when we have a tornado back in Michigan. I laid down and I thought I was probably gonna die. I was in a lot of convulsions. And for whatever reason, there was extreme pain there. I'd already come to the conclusion that Garrett's family and my family would never know what happened. So I took my knife and I inscribed a short story in the stock of Garrett's gun. I put his name and Craig, Alaska, and the little story so his family would know what went on. I was laying there, everything was set, everything was finalized, I was ready. You heard the chopper. I got up, and I just waving and they were just shooting by me, and all of a sudden, the chopper goes, whoo, and they swung around, the door pops open and looking at me. It was a huge relief. I knew all my worries about the family back home, everything. I knew there was a starting point for Garrett now to search for him. The whole plan to hold out a week or more, I knew all of it was good.
Well, to let you know, this is the first time I've looked at the gun since my boy died. very emotional. It says, Garrett Hagan of Craig, Alaska, died while taking a big bear to his boat. Adrian Knopf, which is my boy's good friend, well, he thought he was going to die, and he was thinking of our family. Wanted us to know how Garrett went. It's a very commendable thing he thought of that. You know, this is the worry of every fishing family. And like us, you get a call at 3 o'clock in the morning, Coast Guard called in. You still live on hopes. Pretty soon your hopes start waning. And then when it's all over with, you accept what's happened. You know, you try to deal with it.
We pulled into a hover. At that point, wind gust hit the helicopter, and we started basically dropping out of the sky.
Fly out. Pull up.
I remember just hanging on, thinking, all right, we're just gonna hang on and see what happens.
SMR, Coast Guard helicopter 6030 on channel 23.
Yeah, Coast Guard helicopter.
Sitka Mountain Rescue. We got smoke in the air. You're at our 1 o'clock position.
Well, good sight.
Today we're going to be doing some interagency training with Sitka Mountain Rescue. We're going to run a scenario of an injured hiker and then practice deploying and recovering our litter.
Okay. Target's at 3 o'clock. Low, begin the hoist. And low check and swimmer.
I've been stationed here for 2.5 years now, and I've seen where the alarm's gone off for a case of missing hikers or missing hunters, and we've had to work very closely with Sitka Mountain Rescue to execute a case.
And swimmer is on deck. Back to the first SMR.
Today's scenario, we're going to be putting two Sitka Mountain Rescue folks out of the aircraft. We're going to simulate that they need more boots on the ground to help get the person out of the predicament they are in.
And SMR is on deck and disconnecting. Connect to the second SMR.
Roger.
Load check complete. SMR is on his way down. Easy forward and right. And hold. SMR is 10 feet off deck. And SMR is on deck. There is outside the cabin door and on its way down, sir.
The hoist evolution today, there's a lot of inherent hazards. Anytime we're working underneath that aircraft, we got 120-mile-an-hour rotor wash pelting us on the ground, and it makes the scenario very real. Sitka Mountain Rescue members certainly appreciate that opportunity to train that up, and we're just better prepared all the way around between both organizations.
Litter is on deck. And either ready to pick up signal. Litter is clear of the deck. Hold position, sir. And litter is just above the trees. But there's nobody in this litter.
Is it spinning?
Oh, they're standing directly below it, trying to hold the trail line.
Yeah.
Which does no good.
Anytime we do a litter hoist, our main concern is the sail area. As soon as it gets off the deck, it starts spinning because of the rotor wash that we're putting down. It's kind of a dance between the flight mechanic and the ground party to make sure that they can control that spin. So we'll be working on that today.
Litter's on its way back down, sir.
You stop it.
It's spinning way too freaking fast.
Safest bet was to put it back down, and then we can regroup and try it again.
And 6030 from rescue swimmer.
Yeah, go ahead.
If we can go offset a little bit, hoist at an angle, and then we probably won't get as much of a spin on that litter. All right, they're ready for pickup signal?
Copy.
Hold position. Litter is clear of the deck.
Today was a great training evolution. Pilots got to put the aircraft in tight quarters, and the flight mech got to practice some precision hoisting. The swimmer got to work with SMR folks on the deck, and the SMR folks got a lot of good training today with handling our gear.
6030, have a safe flight back to Air Station Sitka.
And we're better for the next time when we do it for real.
Coast Guard Air Station Kodiak, Lieutenant Maloney. We just launched the 60 to go down to Dutch Harbor for a vessel that ran aground and is abandoning ship. They were in the western side of the harbor with 4 people on board, and they were gonna get in their survival suits and abandon ship. So we're sending people down there right now, try to hoist them out of the water and get them to safety. They're in Unalaska Bay, outside of Dutch Harbor. The weather out there is pretty bad. Winds are out of the west at about 50 knots, gusting over 70 knots. It's rainy, about 1.5 miles of visibility, so it'll be challenging for the helicopter to go out and find them.
Winds 50 gusting to 69 in Death Harbor right now, 1.5 mile visibility.
Sweet.
So it's gonna be fun. We're gonna get rocks pushed the whole way there. Cool. Anything else we want or need? Barf bag?
Yeah. Get ready as fast as I can, rush out to the plane. Find out it's a boat that, from what I've heard so far, is run aground, and the 4 people have jumped off the boat. And that's as much as I knew at that point.
Compstate Kodiak, Coast Guard Hilo 6010, 6010.
We're off at minute 47. We have 5 POV. Any updates?
And roger. The 4 people, they do have survival suits. They're going to try to swim to shore and kind of hunker down there so they can get rescued.
We had a successful launch, and we got airborne over Kodiak. We were able to go direct to Cold Bay, so over the spine of the mountains here in Kodiak. And during that time, we learned that the 4 survivors had gotten off their boat onto the shore.
And these guys might be a tad cold. I don't know what their ability is. If they're hypothermic, they might not be able to even get in the basket. Yep, understood. If they are hypothermic, you want to sling them up or still want to get them in the basket? Depends on how bad they are.
They were basically on land. It was a beach, but everything else was rocky all around them. So they really couldn't get any boats in there to get them. I was thinking about the people that were actually on the beach. I knew they'd be in survival suits, but I still know that in a survival suit in Alaska, it can be pretty cold. There's still heavy seas and heavy winds. The winds were strong enough where they thought the boat was going to tip over. I was concerned how they'd fare out.
All right, sea state wind evaluations. Won't know the sea state until we get there, but wind's going to be pouring over the mountain from the west, approximately 3-5 knots, and should present some downdrafts to us. That's a hazard. Obstacle is a pretty big cliff to the northwest. Well, I thought process is we're going to get the kicked out of us most likely. Permission to go on gunners, make room for survivors? Yeah, affirm. Guys, just, once you're on the ghost boat, please have a hold of something. Roger. So I can see the cat's buzz up here in front of us.
We arrived on scene to find them at the bottom of a cliff with about 20 feet of shoreline that they were on, way too close for us to be able to hoist them from the cliff. So we decided to pull in a hover and discuss our options, figure out the best way to get these guys off the beach and into the helicopter without putting ourselves in a bad situation.
That's a tight fit. Yeah, that is going to be rough, huh? I do see a bunch of rocks there. Shoot, look at that waterfall, just blowing sideways. Yeah.
As we're getting into the area, the conditions were just outrageous out there. All we saw were these monster cliffs everywhere. The wind was raging. They had their back up to a cliff. There was crashing waves. It was crazy. We didn't know. We knew we had ideas what we were going to do, but we passed it around in the cockpit what was going to happen and how we're going to approach this.
Look at those waves crashing compared to the size of their bodies. They're actually bigger than you think. Yeah. Go in and drag them up there, and then try and pull them off that way. You're going against the current right there. Yeah, I'm going against everything. Yeah.
We pulled into a hover, probably good 50 yards offshore, to assess basically how we were going to lower me down or how we were going to get these guys off.
Whoop. Nose turn over. Do say single, torque back out again.
At that point, a downward wind gust, hit the helicopter, and we started basically dropping out of the sky.
All of a sudden, we start feeling the helicopter shake. I hear one of the pilots say, torque, 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 or up, up.
Oh, there's torque, torque. Oh, pull up.
We're frozen. We're going in the water. We're just sitting there. We're like, oh no. I look out the cabin door to my right, and the water's just kind of getting closer to the cabin. I remember just hanging on to the cabin, thinking, all right, we're just gonna hang on and see what happens.
All right, Bill, you like what's going on? Yeah. All right, that was a hell of a downdraft. Yeah. We were heading for the water. Whatever you had to do, you did it. Yeah.
Those downdrafts were a big gut check. That's the first time I've had that experience. I've got a little bit of mountain flying training. We've all been in some downdrafts, little downdrafts here and there. But for the 60 with our big engines, to not be able to overcome it, pulling max power and still descending towards the water, that was a eye-opening experience.
I'm thinking we're not going to be able to hoist them off that shore. No, right there. I was going to say the same thing. I think they're going to have to make his way to shore. Yeah, they're in survival suits. Yep. Well, I bet you put you in there and you go get down.
We discussed that we're gonna put Rashid in the water, up current, let him swim down to the guys in the water. And at this time, Mr. Flipowitz announces, hey, the guys are getting in the water.
Oh, don't get in the water, dude. Stay. He's swimming out to us.
They all just jumped in the water. They're swimming towards us. We're like, oh no, this is something that we don't like to see. I mean, it just kind of changes everything because now we're gonna be chasing 4 guys in the surf, floating around in the ocean. Who knows what's gonna happen? It's dangerous.
Oh, don't get in the water, dude. Stay. He's swimming out to us.
There were 4 people in the water. They abandoned ship and they're out there floating.
Okay. Going off ICS. But love you guys. Love you too, man. Be safe.
Before he got out, he said, I love you guys. I remember saying, I love you too, man, or something like that. He kind of gave me a smile and he's like, let's do this. We decided to pull into a very high hover. They were going to be some of the highest hoists that I have ever done.
I'll bring you to swimmer cabin door. Ready for one swimmer, rescue swimmer. Yeah, definitely one. Roger. If you have target set, you can begin the hoist. Check swimmer. Roger. Swimmer's ready. Right there. Roger. And go for it. Slide back. Swimmer's outside, swimmer's going down. Slide left a little bit. Swimmer's below the aircraft.
The original plan really was for me to get lowered down, swim to shore, and I'd take one guy off at a time, bring him out, put him in the basket, go back for another one to shore, and continue the process. When the guys jumped in, they basically made it so we had no choice in the matter, and I got lowered down to swim right to them.
This will be a basket to the water for Rashid from 90 feet.
Roger, basket's outside.
Basket's going down. Look good.
So I got the basket out and we started bringing it to Rashid, and the way everything was happening, it just went so smooth. I got that basket and it just landed right next to him. It was amazing. He put the survivor in there and I brought him up.
Basket's inside cabin. Driver's getting out of the basket.
As soon as he was going up, I immediately went back for the other 3 guys. There was one guy that was out front. I ended up getting to him first. It happened to be the captain of the boat. He asked actually to if I could get him last. And I said, at this point, it's first come, first served. And that's when I noticed one of the other crew members stopped swimming. He was actually drifting toward the rocks again.
All right, he's got one guy. He's slowly starting to swim away from the group.
So I went for the guy that was drifting toward the rocks. I grabbed him, made sure that he was at least relatively okay. He said his knee hurt, so I just grabbed him, swam to the 3rd guy with him, had them interlock arms, and started swimming with both of them till I reached the captain.
All right, rescue check is complete right for 1 second. Basket, recovery of the survivor. Roger, and if you have target set, begin the hoist.
At that point, the basket was coming down for the helicopter. I told the guys just to keep kicking. I ended up getting the captain into the basket. He went up, I went back for the 2 other guys.
Basket's just outside cabin door. Basket's inside the cabin. Just get the survivor in the seat.
The way, I can't even explain it, it was amazing where the basket was landed.
That survivor, survivor's getting to the basket.
Everything was just perfect. The basket would land in between everybody. He would throw somebody in, bring him back up, and do it all over again.
Basket's inside cabin, hoist complete.
They went up into the aircraft, and then I'm expecting either the basket or the strop to come down for me. And that's when I see the helicopter take a little bit of turbulence and then start dropping again.
Fly out. Take out a little torque. Take out a little torque. Pull up. You're good. Hold it. Just get the nose over.
We hit one of the last downdrafts from this cliff. I think it was probably the scariest one we had. I felt the helicopter pretty much shaking and falling, and all I could think of was Rashid's in the water, and we're gonna fall on top of him or something.
A little torque. Good. Hold it right there. You're good. Yep.
I remember diving for the DMB, which is the data marker buoy. Part of our emergencies is to throw the DMB and throw the life raft for the swimmer in the water if we're gonna go down or if we're gonna go in a fly-out condition.
I got DMB in hand. Let me know. No, we're coming back to him. All right.
I saw him nose over the plane. I was all by myself in the water, and I started yelling, pull up, pull up. They were able to pull out at about 25 feet, make another go around, another pass. They lowered the strop, and as fast as I could hook up, I hooked up. They pulled me up, and we got out of there as quick as we could.
Outside cabin door. Bring source cabin.
The hoisting of this case was the big thing. The downdrafts, the people jumping in the water, that really made this one stand out. It's right there tied with the hardest SAR case I've done in the Coast Guard and here in Alaska. It's definitely going to stay with me for a long time, and I'll be telling the story well into my 80s, I'm sure.
Ready for fourth flight? Okay. Says one guy with possible injury. Okay. All right, 4 landing triplets for reef.
Out of all the other hoists and SAR cases that I've been on, I would say this is probably the most demanding SAR case that I had, due to definitely the weather, on-scene conditions, just the huge, I don't even know how tall this cliff was, but it was a monster and it was making our job very difficult.
Nice job, gentlemen. That was a hell of a hoisting evolution.
You doing okay? Your knee, left knee, or your shin?
Yeah, left knee. I got a big rock smacking me coming in.
We just did a quick once-over on everybody once we had the door open and get everybody out of the plane. And we also had a medical unit from Dutch Harbor come and take a look at each individual. I don't know who I got first. Was that you? I was planning I was going to go in, grab each one of you one at a time, and then you made a quick decision for us. But no, it was impressive for you guys getting off the beach. I know you guys went through a lot.
It was about the roughest I've seen. I mean, we've been through, 50, 60, 70s before, but this was just outrageous. Well, we're all pretty cold, wet, tired, and just at the mercy of the sea at that point. Ended up getting us pushed further up on the rocks, and we got pinned in between two big boulders in the water, so that was it. Lost the prop, lost the tranny, lost the anchor, and then just the beach came up next. Cliff started coming down.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, big old boulders.
Really?
Big rocks coming down. Super close. Right on the boat.
Crayon and making boulders like the size of a small SUV coming down. It's crazy.
They were pretty lucky considering all the conditions that happened that night and everything that they just went through to be able to walk off the helicopter after we picked them up, which is pretty amazing. Don't always get to see that.
One of those rocks ends up right in the side of my knee. When I got it x-rayed, he flat out told me, yeah, it's broken. I've seen a Coast Guard helicopter fly, so yeah, it was just incredible. Thanks a lot, guys, for coming out there, and pretty rough. Thanks a lot, really appreciate it.
We're going to go back to the place where my friend Garrett lost his life, and I spent 7 days. The worst thing for me is to look out there. Just Garrett motoring his boat out. That's all I see.
So everyone knows where we're at. We're just nearing Beam Canal, part of the Misty Fjord Monument.
That bay directly across is where they found his skiff.
Blew it out of the...
Yeah.
I'm Adrian Knops. We're going to go back to the place where my friend Garrett and I were. We're just going back there because that's the place he lost his life, and I spent 7 days. My wife is headed along with Garrett's dad. He's apprehensive, I know, but for me, I'm very glad that he's here.
There's a big fallen tree just up above the black area. That's the tree I was by.
I would hope that there's some kind of closure, that it'll never be closed. It's just part of life right now.
There was a seal out here almost the whole week. He would stare at each other.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He'd pop his head up and look at me. Like I was some kind of novelty.
Here, if you want to come out, you can really fast. Shallow part, hang onto this rope. Smack.
Hey, you see your friend here, Adrian? There's a seal over there.
Oh yeah, there he
He
is.
went right there too.
There he is. All right, I'm going to my tree.
I feel kind of excited, actually, that I'm back here with it. It's nice to be back here, standing up healthy and, you know. Oh, I gotta pick up my trash. I had 2 old hand warmers in my pack that weren't active. They were old ones from hunting. So I will take my trash back with me. But this was me for a week and during high tide. Last afternoon when the wind gusts were like 100 plus, I had to put my hand back there and hang on.
Well, I kind of wanted to come here to try to put together how my boy died. You can't believe that it could be so vicious when it's so serene and warm and beautiful right now. But if you're here when it's bad, you know the difference. It's deceiving.
My worst thoughts are is that he was thinking of me stuck here.
But you know that's what it was.
I know. The worst thing for me is to look out there. Just Garrett motoring his boat out. That's all I see.
A happy time.
It was a happy time. I can remember him as like it happened just an hour ago. Back of his head, curly hair, sitting up straight with his new outboard motor, running out there with his kayak and a bear hide right behind him. I mean, it's very, very clear.
He loved the ocean, he loved the wilderness. That was his life. This helped me with a little bit of closure. I can kind of get a visual on what happened, is what a guy wants to know, what happened to their kid and how. And the Coast Guard, they was on the ball. Without the Coast Guard, Adrian would have been dead. It makes me feel that the Coast Guard is there for us, that they really do care.
This is what I would like to say about the Coast Guard. They're such a nice bunch of guys. It's like your friends are out there looking for you. It really is. And when I got in that chopper, that's exactly how I felt. I felt like I was with people I have known. They were taking care of me. You felt safe. I appreciate, obviously, the training and commitment that they have. And the very fact that I was rescued, that's had a profound effect on my family and friends.
It's a positive thing. Coming here was positive today.
Yeah, it is.